Alright guys, what is going on? Welcome back to video number 6 in my tutorial on how to make a mobile game with JavaScript. Now, as you notice, I'm adding me into the video down here in the corner. Yep. Just thought this might be a little more interesting. I've seen like other people do this, so I'm trying it out. But yeah, so in this video, we are actually going to be finishing up this random universe generator that we created last time. And because actually I forgot one important thing, and we can just add that in real quick while I'm thinking of it. At the bottom here, we're just going to type in return system data, because if we didn't do that, then it wouldn't return any of the data that we generated up here in the system data. So, and then once we do that, it's like super simple to use this function now. So all we do is jump down here into the game, and then so now this function where we're actually calling the universe render, and we're passing in this basic system data, which was this array up here, which actually just delete it because we don't need it anymore. And you come down here, and now we're just going to say, okay, variable systems equals, and then we're literally just going to set it equal to this function. So in this case, our generate random universe, let me scroll, and so it's equal to that function. And now the number we pass in, remember, is the number of systems that we want on our screen. And in this case, you don't want to make it too high, because if you do make it too high, you're gonna error, because what happens is you have a box, however big our box was, I think it was like 2 screen widths. So you have this box, and if you put too many systems in, remember they need to be each a certain distance from each other. So if you have too many systems spawning, then obviously there's no room for them, and then it's just going to be an infinite loop because it can't find a spot to put it. So it's going to be like jumping around and not going to know where to put it. So in this case, I found that 30 is actually a good number, and I wouldn't go too much higher than 30. It's a pretty decent number to get like a nice spaces between your systems. So what this is going to do is we call that, it's going to spit out 30 of those chord X, chord Ys that we had up there. And so instead of passing in this now, we are going to pass in systems. And then that's literally all you need to do now. If you test this out, it's literally just going to show the blue background that we had, and then you're going to see a couple of white dots, probably some off the screen, but like halfway on the screen. The only thing is we're not going to be able to see all of them because we can't move around our screen yet. And actually, if you test it now, you're going to be able to kind of drag down and drag over, and like some of it's not going to have blue, and it's going to look super weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of CSS styles here real quick. And we're actually going to add a new style after this body, and we're going to say this is for the body and HTML. And we're actually just going to set this overflow hidden, and we're going to just give this a max width of 100% and a max height of 100%. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure if this solves the problem, but there's one other thing that we can do here on the universe. And in the universe, we're actually going to set this to position fixed, and we're just going to make sure that this is positioned in the top left corner with top and 0, or top 0, left 0. And then the last thing is also give this an overflow of hidden, because the idea is that we want that universe to only cover the screen, and anything outside of the universe we don't want to show it. But in this case, we're going to be moving around our universe in a different way. We're not going to be scrolling on the page. We're going to be actually dragging, and these systems are going to move based on our touch. And that is something that we're going to build in the next video. Actually, I'm sorry. I have a few more things that I want to show. Actually, fixes. What I want to do now is actually explain some of these commented lines and explain some of the code stuff that we haven't gone over yet. So this Webkit Scroll Bar right here, this is actually, I'm going to uncomment this out because this is handy. I found this piece of code when I was looking for a solution on, because there was scroll bars on the side and I didn't want them. So I found this handy piece of code that just gets rid of the scroll bars for you, which is great because I mean, in most cases you don't want to see that stuff in these games. And then up here, there's a few more things. User select, this is a really handy, this is super handy. I'm gonna uncomment all this out actually. This is super handy to have. The box sizing it's for padding and stuff. I find this useful. You don't necessarily need to use it. It's because padding never works exactly how I want it to. It's like always, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It like it changes the size when you put paddings in, and box sizing will fix that. So I usually use it, but it's optional. I don't have any specific example of where it would be useful here, but user select is definitely useful because what happens is on HTML pages, if you actually hold down on the screen, it'll select elements and like make this box over them so that you can like copy it or something. And we definitely don't want that, because if the user's holding down the screen, we don't want it to pop up with this select box there. So that's going to get rid of that for us. And that pretty much takes care of everything. Like I said, the fonts, you know, we don't have a font yet, so there's no reason to use that at the moment. And then I want to quickly explain this test alert, or this for testing div that we have here, and then our function, of course, that on the bottom here that goes along with it. And I don't know how much we'll actually use it in this, but in this case, it's, you know, you normally have like if you say you want to go into a function up here, and you know, in JavaScript you have basic alerts. So if I wanted to come up here and, you know, in this loop, if I wanted to know what X was, I could say alert X, and then it would, well, it's in a loop, so you'd get a ton of alerts in a row. And this is actually a good example. So you'd get all these alerts in a row, and basically they're popping up on your screen one at a time every time you click OK, OK. So in this case, if you want to get this huge list of all these numbers without having to wait for all these, you know, alerts, literally you just type test alert and then do X, and that's what it's going to do. Is it's going to write all those numbers out on the screen so you can see them all at once, you know. So it's going to run through and show you everything that you're getting all at once. And something handier is to actually add a plus, and then a little, this is basically just a space, so it's going to space each one of those out so you can see where each number is rather than have them all stuck together. And this right here is going to be extremely helpful when you're testing, very helpful. So, but we don't need that right now. But in your case, if you want to go and you want to test something out, that's a great way to do it. It's preferable to alerts in some cases. In most cases I've found it's preferable. But so now that you have an understanding of what that is and how to use it, there's a couple of things that I want to show with Xcode. So we're just going to open this project up. Now, there's a few things here. So I'm on the main screen here, like you have your files here. So if you just click on Hello World at the top, this is your basic screen. If you don't see this, make sure you're on targets and you're on general. And then here we want to change this bundle identifier because Hello World's like the default, and if all of your apps have Hello World, then every time you load them on, they're gonna override the previous app. So here we can just say, you know, oops, we're just gonna say, okay, PhoneGap.appGame, because that was our name of our thing. So we just change that and that's it, you know, pretty simple. And then your version and your builds, those numbers change as you upload new versions of the game. And then of course your team, you know, I have mine here. If you'd have to, once you get into that, you don't even have to worry about that right now for testing. And then your deployment target, I think you start at 6. I think this is what yours would look like at 6, and that really doesn't matter too much at this point. You can give that more thought when you upload it. Honestly, I'm pretty sure most people are going to have at least 7.1 now, and this app specifically isn't going to run great on an iPhone 4S, you know, so you're going to need a 5 or greater at that point, and pretty much all 5s should be running 7 at least by now. So, and then of course, you know, your device type. So universal is going to include both iPad and iPhone, but you can pick one specifically. And then of course, our device orientation. Now, I don't know what the default was. It might have been portrait, but in this case, you want to make sure that these are set. And that actually might have been one thing I forgot to mention on the last video that's important for testing. So you want to make sure that yours right now is set to left and right, and then turn off portrait and upside down. So that's pretty much it for those basic settings here. And then I have a couple of other things that I want to say. So one thing is, if you're having a problem with the status bar showing up, I'm not sure if I don't think it shows up in landscape. It might not. But in any case, if you're seeing a status bar and for some reason you're making like a portrait app, you know, you're going to see that status bar on the top. And there's one thing that I know for certain that works for getting rid of it if you do want to get rid of it. And so here we're just going to say anywhere, just right click anywhere here. And if you go to add row and then scroll all the way to the bottom, there's view controller based status bar option. And then that's just gonna set to no. And that's gonna get rid of your status bar altogether. And that's really handy to know. The only other thing is I ran across this other issue when I was trying to build my project, and it really frustrated me, and I had to do like a lot of research to try and fix it. There's a pathing issue somewhere along the line where it couldn't figure out like where some of my files were, header files. It didn't make any sense to me. I was looking it up. Apparently tons of people are having the same problem, so there was a solution that worked for me. And we're just gonna do that now because I don't want you guys to run into that problem, you know, trying to build your app. Because like it would, or actually it was working for just testing, but then when I tried to actually upload my app to iTunes Connect, you know, where the App Store stuff is, this is where it became a problem. And like, I just want to say this now so that, you know, in the future, you don't run into this issue. And I probably mention it again later, like if I go over that kind of thing in later videos. So let me see if I can remember where this was. Okay, so I think it was under, yeah, okay, so if you on the right or left here, click on under project, go to hello world, and then on the top click on build settings. And then if you scroll all the way down, let's see, to search paths right here. And then you're gonna look right here at header search paths. If you double click on this, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna add a new search path. And you can just type in what I'm typing in, and that's, yeah, you know, $, and then, you know, 2 parentheses, OBJROOT, and then outside of that dash, and this is uninstall. I want to make sure I'm spelling all this right. UninstallProducts, one word. And then another slash with a $, and then parentheses, and then inside that platform underscore name, and then outside of that include. And I believe that was everything in there. And so now I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this real quick. And then, so now if you double click on that, it's added in there and you should be good to go. And then here, I'm just gonna click on release because I just did debug, so now I'm gonna do release. So double click on that and just add and then paste. And there you go, and just click out of that. So now you have those paths in there, and that should take care of any issues you have later on trying to upload your app to iTunes Connect. And that's pretty much it. And actually, this video is already a little lengthy. So in the next video, like I said, we are gonna cover fixing that. We're gonna go over the touch listeners so we can actually move around our universe at that point. And that's gonna be really helpful because right now you can't really move around to see all the star systems in there. But anyways, guys, if you are enjoying this series, make sure to subscribe down below and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in video 7, so stick around.